Hey beautiful people, today I want to talk to you about the art of listening. There is much speaking of the importance of listening. We live in a world where many are trapped in their beliefs, in their perception, in their distortion or illusion of what they think what reality is. So we often see people through our projections. Our own identity that is based on our beliefs is projected outwards. We start filtering what other people say through our belief system, therefore labeling them and not opening ourselves up to actually understanding or listening to them. So therefore, in many Buddhist schools, there is a huge emphasis on the ability to listen, to stay within the present moment, to give someone else space so they can express themselves as they are. Well, this, in that sense, can lead to a little bit of a difficulty, because now there is a belief that we always need to be patient. There is a belief that we always need to listen. There is a belief that we are not a good practitioner if we do not listen, or if we say that we do not want to listen. But there is a habit in society, and that habit is complaining. And complaining is something that we do if we want to make ourselves a victim to an experience. That means we generate identity by creating a story, an illusion of powerlessness, and then through that illusion of powerlessness, a lot of emotion is generated. And when people feel that emotion, they feel helpless. So then they grab the phone, they call someone, and they start complaining. Now what happens if I then listen and give space? I am actually rewarding that behavior. Authentically listening is also something that has to do with allowing everything that is, and that means also allowing yourself. If in a conversation you get into a state of self-denial, then you're not conscious in that situation. So as such, if someone cannot regulate their emotion, they feel helpless towards the energies arising within them because they have some sort of belief system that creates that, well then it's a little bit like this. I don't know how to recycle my trash, and now I start collecting trash. And every time I see my neighbor, I throw my trash over the fence and tell him he needs to take care of my trash. Now, the neighbor is a good listener. He has learned that he is a good person, a kind person, a compassionate person. If he always listens, so he takes my trash until he gets ill. And then he starts complaining to someone and gives them also that emotional energy. So I want to make it clear that often we say, oh, I just want to share something, just want to tell you something, but we are radiating energy through the way we talk. And we expect others to receive that energy. But if we're speaking in a form of monologue, we're not allowing dialogue, we're not allowing disagreement, it means we're using someone. We're using someone as an object to radiate our emotional energy to. We're projecting it on them. And that is selfish. So many people, because they're suffering and cannot regulate their emotions, have a selfish desire, because they're spilling over with suffering, to give that energy to someone else, which makes these people suffer too. Now, it would be compassionate, not pitiful, it would be compassionate if someone starts complaining to you, that you make them aware of how you feel about it. For example, that you can feel the heaviness of it, that it does not feel pleasant, and that you might encourage someone that they learn how to regulate their emotions and take responsibility for their life situation and their action. This is empowering, but when someone keeps complaining and you listen to them for hours, you are rewarding their unconscious behavior. Now you become part of the unconscious system. Now the ego likes to label it kind, to listen to someone for hours. It says, well, I'm a good person, that's why I listen to people. But in truth, the ego will hide behind virtue, because it is afraid to speak up. It is afraid to speak up Because there is a fear that there will be, let's say, a resonance, a feedback that leads to conflict or argument. Now, in this case, it is tremendously important to learn how to be assertive. Because no matter what relationship you're in, if you are in self-denial, it is an imbalanced relationship and illness will arise. So as such, we do not serve people by continuously letting them throw their emotional garbage into our garden. It is about saying that you need space. To be honest about that and to be able to say no, but then to say no in a way that others can understand by explaining them, for example, that currently you don't have the energy to handle their energy. And then you mirror their behavior back. And that is tremendously helpful for a lot of beings, because then they realize, oh, I make others feel uncomfortable, unpleasant. This is what they're not conscious of. And they're also not conscious of that they're afraid of their own emotions. So when you speak out, it is a compassionate thing to do. It is a respectful thing to do, because you allow someone to become conscious of the fact that they are throwing their emotional garbage around. And you see this behavior that humans have developed, this delegating of responsibility on all levels of society. We have delegated responsibility to religious institutions, we have delegated responsibility to politicians, because we don't want to recycle our own shit. And that is a tremendous issue, because if everyone delegates responsibility, nobody is responsible, ultimately then. And then we blame it on those that we think are the people in power, instead of learning how to regulate our own emotions through meditation, through mindfulness, through transforming those energies, so that we do not give those energies to others, which just perpetuates these unconscious type of conversations in society. It is important to say, when you intuitively realize, oh, this conversation is making me sick if I stay in this conversation, if I don't shift it into a more conscious conversation, or if I don't leave it. So then it's important to be sincere. Because otherwise, we keep perpetuating this behavior. Yeah? People are being conditioned into being helpless. We allow them to be helpless because since our ego hides behind being kind, we let them talk, we let them talk, we let them talk, and agree basically with their helplessness. And next time they have an issue, they call you again. That doesn't mean not to listen to people, but it is tremendously important to be conscious in the body, to watch your breath, to feel your energy field, because the moment there's a, let's say, a shift in your energy, then you realize what is really being said. Now your mind will tell you, when you listen to people, you need to analyze what they say. This is not true. Just watch your breath and be in your energy field, because you will perceive emotion that is beyond language. Yeah, you will feel the energy that comes of them. So you know something about them that is not to be found in what they say. Usually body language is quite accurate. Yeah, there are not many people who are successful at, let's say, manipulating their own body language to a degree that you couldn't read the emotional state of them. But let's say those type of people also exist, but energy doesn't lie. You cannot fake the energy that you're emitting. So as such, when you are breathing consciously and not trying to listen to people from your mind, but you just watch your breath, you will be surprised how much you understand about what they're actually saying. Yeah? You will be able to perceive what the ego is trying not to say. You feel it in the energy. And then you can tell when someone, because they are in pain and they cannot regulate their emotions, try to basically drop a monologue on you. They do it because there is a selfish need there. So if I'm talking to someone in a monologue, what am I doing? I'm using them. Yeah? I'm using them to regulate my own emotions instead of claiming responsibility for my state of consciousness. So as such, when you have that feeling suddenly that you're unwell in the conversation because probably that type of manipulation is taking place, then it is very important to drop any ideas of who you think you are. Drop ideas of I'm a Buddhist. Drop ideas of I'm a good Christian. Drop those ideas that your ego has, those identities that it has created, through which it justifies being a coward. Because this is what it is. It is being a coward. If we have a society in which we allow ourselves to be used, we are rewarding such behavior. So as such, being compassionate often means to say the uncomfortable thing, to trigger those egos, to make someone aware of that they're bullshitting themselves. And then, of course, there are several possibilities of what happens then. There are a possibility that someone will get upset and, for example, end a relationship with you. Right? But in a sense, it's a relief because this wasn't an authentic relationship to begin with. Or, and this often happens, and that is tremendously beautiful, people become aware and suddenly they're asking, what, am I really doing this? And they start transforming, they get curious, they want to know what's going on, what they don't see about themselves. And then we can be of assistance. And then patience, of course, becomes a virtue. But to listen under every circumstance, that would mean you're delegating also your own power to everyone else. If everyone around you can decide what you focus on, do you really decide what you do in life? If someone could call you at any time and trap you in a conversation over several hours, even though you could meditate, educate yourself on some matter, or do some sort of practice. So it is important to be sincere with the space that you're willing to receive others in that space. How much space can you give without being in self-denial? And that's why saying no to someone is not saying no, it means saying yes to well-being. And if you say yes to well-being and you speak out and you explain it, others have a chance also to say yes to well-being. Because complaining is not saying yes to well-being. Contemplate about that. Be well.